Hey there everybody, and how are you guys doing today? I am Joe Marian from mobilecupofjoe.com, and in this video today, I'm going to be giving you my full review of the Nokia Lumia 1520 on AT&T. So guys, the Nokia Lumia 1520 is an exclusive to AT&T, and as you can see is a very, very large smartphone. This is the biggest Windows Phone device to date with a 6-inch 1080p Full HD display. Now, also packed inside is a 20 megapixel PureView rear-facing camera, a Snapdragon 800 processor, and a bunch more all packed into this device right here, which is kind of crossing lines between a tablet and a smartphone. So let's go ahead and dive into my full review of the Nokia Lumia 1520, find out what's good, find out what's not so good, and give you my final verdict on this phone right here. But before we go any further, please go ahead and grab that coffee cup, fill it up, bring it over, and sit on down. Take a swig for your mobile cup of Joe. Alrighty, so here we go with my full review for the Nokia Lumia 1520. I'd like to give a really big thank you and shout out to our friends over at AT&T for hooking us up with this monstrous device right here. Always awesome for our partners to hook us up with these devices so we can review them for you. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my review for this smartphone. Now right off the bat with the design, you can see that this is a monstrous device. This is measuring in with a screen size of 6 inches. Now the actual dimensions of it are pretty interesting. They're actually quite large. The Nokia Lumia 1520 is 3.36 inches wide. It is 6.4 inches tall and is 0.33 inches thick. So with those dimensions in mind, this is a very, very big phone. You can see here my hands are relatively kind of medium sized. They're teensy small, but they're okay. And I have a really hard time grasping my hand around this phone completely. There's no way, even if you do have larger hands, you'll be able to reach all 4 corners of the screen of this phone without stretching your hand too much. Now, I really like large screens on smartphones. You know, I love the LG Optimus G Pro, and that came out very underrated phone. I love the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. I love those big screen phones. And I would like to see a really good 6-inch phone. Not that this isn't a good phone, but just with all of the top and lower bezels all around the phone, and just with a screen size that is 6 inches big, it's a bit cumbersome. We're skinny jeans, granted, but I have pretty deep pockets in them. I could not fit this thing in my pocket comfortably. The bottom edge would jut out into my leg, and the top of it would always remain to stick out. So in terms of a form factor and functionality, really not all that great. Now in terms from a design, it's okay, but it's not going to win any awards either. The edges on here are quite sharp, as you can see right there. The back, there's actually 4 colors this comes in. We have the black, there's also a white, a red, and a yellow. The red is more of a glossy finish, where the black, the white, and the yellow are a matte finish of polycarbonate. And this is actually still pretty slippery. I've heard that the red, more of the red design with the glossy plastic is slipperier, but this is still pretty slippery from my experience. I've actually dropped this a couple times because I can't get a grip on the back of this right here. Also very basic. You only have one AT&T logo and a Nokia logo up there. On the bottom below your screen you have your 3 Windows capacitive touch buttons, and on terms of physical buttons you have your volume rocker and then your power/lock button with that dedicated camera capture button. Now on the back too, you will see that the camera lens does rise just a bit above the back of the phone. It's not monstrous like we saw on the Nokia Lumia 1020 with the 41 megapixel camera, but just be noted that this camera lens does stick up a teensy bit from the back side of the phone. So not a great design, pretty boring, and not a really suitable form factor for a lot of people. So right off the bat, not too many points going towards Nokia Lumia 1520, but things do pick up when we get into the hardware. And we're going to start that off with this display. As I mentioned, it is 6 inches, and this is the first ever Windows Phone device to have a 1920 by 1080p Full HD resolution for the display. And I gotta say, it looks mighty darn good. This is an LCD IPS display with Nokia's clear black technology. So even though it's not super AMOLED, you do still have pretty deep blacks, and your whites are also very bright as well. Pretty good viewing angles, really good outdoor visibility. You can see right there the texture, not the texture, but rather the crispness and everything of the display here is really quite good. You will not be able to get the full idea of the resolution since we only upload these videos in a max of 720p HD, but this is a really beautiful display. You can see right here blacks again, although it's not super AMOLED, they're still very deep. Your colors are accurate, colors are bright. This is a gorgeous display. Now since it is a bigger screen size though, you have a smaller pixel density at 367 ppi, where you normally see a ppi in the 400 plus range on a screen with a 4.7 or 5-inch display real estate. But even with a 1080p pixel resolution stretched out to 6 inches is still incredibly crisp, looks fantastic, beautiful, beautiful screen here on the Nokia Lumia 1520. Now another area where the Lumia 1520 shines really strong is in its performance. This is also the first Windows Phone device to feature Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 processor, which is clocked at, I believe, 2.26 gigahertz is the standard, and it is also packing in 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now, Windows Phone handsets have never needed that much processing power, that much horsepower to function smoothly. We rarely ever see a laggy Windows Phone device, which is fantastic. But to have Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 chipset on here with those 2 gigs of RAM does make the phone feel incredibly fast. I'm going to go ahead and load up Temple Run 2 for you guys here real quick. Turn down the volume a bit so it's not blaring, just so you can kind of get an idea for how gaming performance does run. Now granted, Temple Run 2 isn't the most graphically intense game, but I just wanted to show you how it performs for a game like this. You can see there is no trouble at all right here. I just started the game, but I went through Temple Run in one of the longest runs I've ever had for this game just because it's so smooth. And I will say that screen size, although it may not be that functional for putting in your pocket or carrying around with you, it sure does make games and videos look great on here. You can see, you play Temple Run on something like a Nokia Lumia 1520, it's kind of hard to go back to something with a 4-inch screen size such as the iPhone after you handle something like this, because, you know, with a screen size that big, it's got its ups and it does have its downs, but for a game like Temple Run, if you're watching a video, it does shine out really there. And I don't really have to go on much more about this processor. You can see it's performing like a boss. We can go ahead and swipe out of that. And we can hop into something like Instagram real quick with all this multitasking. If you want to go back, just hold down on that and we're right back into Temple Run, resuming our game, no problem at all. Nokia Lumia 1520 never has any trouble keeping up with whatever you throw at it. So if you like bright displays, you like beautiful displays, you like strong processing power, Nokia Lumia 1520 is definitely going to have you covered. Now, another area where I personally really enjoyed the Lumia 1520 was with its camera. The Nokia Lumia 1520 has a 20 megapixel pure view camera with a Carl Zeiss lens, which is pretty typical for Nokia's Windows Phone devices. And you also have dual LED flash on here. Now, the Nokia Lumia 1020 featured a xenon flash, but the Lumia 1520 opted for a dual LED flash. When that results in lower performing pictures when it comes to low light situations, but I was still rather impressed with the picture quality I got here out of the Nokia Lumia 1520. I'll go ahead and do a quick picture of my cat right here that I took. You can check out these pictures for a better idea on our website on our full written review. But you can see right there, the detail is just really great. It looks super good on that big 6-inch display right there. And really the image quality is just quite good. Quite well doesn't make sense. It does take a bit of time to autofocus at certain points, and it does take a couple seconds to actually open up the camera from just at the lock screen. But the end result does result in pretty good looking pictures. See if I can just find a couple more to show you really quick. I took this out and took a bunch of pictures with the giant, the polar vortex we had. And again, right there, just the detail of the camera is really good. I know that I read some reviews where people weren't that impressed with the camera. They said it looked good, but weren't super impressed. Well, for me, I really enjoyed the camera on here with the 1520. Really nice to have it for such a long period of time to take pictures when it's so beautiful outside. Freezing cold outside in Michigan right now, but I really was glad to be able to have this phone to take pictures of the winter weather. I really do like this camera on here. One thing I do want to point out is that you also have access to Nokia Camera, which was previously Nokia Pro Cam, but has since been updated to Nokia Camera. And with this, you have a ton of professional features, including an option to adjust your white balance. You can adjust your manual focus, your ISO. You can adjust your shutter speed, along with your exposure volumes. Now, this is a very cool application. If you are a really big shutterbug and you want to take your picture taking skills to the next level, Nokia Camera is a great application to have. There's actually another software little camera app that I found for the 1520 called Nokia Refocus, which is really cool. It actually allows you to take numerous photos, and say that I take a picture of my cat, for example, just using that because she's down by my feet right now. But I take a picture of my cat and I can actually go back later and readjust where I want the focus on. So it's having those features on here that really make picture taking and really just using the camera in general on the 1520 a very enjoyable experience. Now moving on from that, it is worth noting that the Nokia Lumia 1520 has a very, very impressive battery. I use the Nokia Lumia 1520 really hard in my time with it. Lots of texting because, I'm a teenager, got to do that. Pretty heavy application usage, including Facebook and Instagram. Pretty moderate web browsing, light phone calling, a lot of picture taking. I never had any issues at all getting through a full day of use. If you want more specific statistics on, say that fast, specific statistics on the battery for the Nokia Lumia 1520, check out our written review. I'll try to put a link in the description below for that, for more exact statistics on the battery life. But if you use this phone sparingly, you can probably get through a day and a half of use with it. But even with heavy use, there is no trouble at all getting through a solid full day. And really in 2013, or 2014 now, with such a big screen with so many pixels, I was really pleased with the battery performance I got out of the Nokia Lumia 1520. Now moving on from there, let's go ahead and get into some software. As you can see right here, the Nokia Lumia 1520 is in fact running Windows Phone 8. And Windows Phone 8, I gotta say, is getting a bit familiar at this point in time. Windows Phone 8 was first launched back at the end of October in 2012. We're in the beginning of January 2013, or actually close to the end of January in 2014, but it'll probably be February 2014 by the time I get this video uploaded. Either way, Windows Phone, while it is still fluid, it is still functional, I still really like it. It's feeling a bit familiar at this point in time. With that said, there has been, since the update, or since the initial release, an update to the GDR3. And as you can see right here, one of the most notable features, at least from the start screen, is that you can now have more live tiles present on your start screen. So you can see right here that I can have a medium-sized live tile along with a wide tile, where normally a wide tile would take up the entire row of a spot on my start screen. I can also have 2 medium tiles right here with 4 small-sized tiles in there. I can have 3 medium tiles in one row, where previously it could only be 2 live tiles. So having options to have even more live tiles on your start screen does really make it nice. You don't have to scroll as much as you normally would have to, and on that big display it looks really good. Now of course you still swipe this way to get to all of your installed applications, but aside from that, Windows Phone 8 has not changed that much. Now there is an update to Windows Phone 8.1 coming out later this year, I believe sometime around April. Microsoft is really going to have to get it right though if they want to make Windows Phone still a viable competitor in the mobile smartphone operating system market. We've seen Apple's iOS get updated to iOS 7, which may not be the best operating system, but it has seen, or not the best version of the operating system, I should say, but an upgrade is still an upgrade. We have seen Android go through numerous updates, currently sitting at Android version 4.4.2, KitKat is its latest version, and Windows Phone 8 is still kind of Windows Phone 8. So if Microsoft can get this updated to new software, it's going to make the experience a whole lot better. Not that Windows Phone is bad at its current state, but it does feel familiar. Now, one more gripe that I still have with Windows Phone is the application store, wherein lies the Windows Store. Now, since the initial launch of Windows Phone, we have seen a lot of big-name competitors come to the store. I'll give it credit for that. We have Facebook, we have Vine, we do have a pretty good YouTube client, not an official one, but it works. We have official Pandora, Evernote, we have Instagram Beta now, we have Shazam, we have a pretty good client for Trello, we have IMDb, we have a lot of big-name applications in here. And while they are coming over fairly quickly, there is still an issue now. When a new application is released, it's usually on iOS first, if not Android at the same time. And if it's not on Android and iOS at the same time, it'll come to Android a few days later. But Android and iOS are both about at the same level now when it comes to available content in their app stores. Well, you look at something such as Windows Phone 8, and while there's still a lot of pretty strong applications in there, when a new application is released, you really don't expect it on Windows Phone. Like I said, you have your big name applications in there. All of your core applications that you're going to use on a daily basis, you'll probably be able to find in Windows Phone 8. However, take Flappy Bird for example, just because that's all that's on my mind because that game is so freaking irritating. But take it for an example, it launched on iOS and Android at the same time because there are strong markets for those platforms. There's a lot of customers on them, the developers know they can make a profit off of those platforms, so they're going to make them available for those platforms. Windows Phone 8 isn't exactly the same story. While it is doing really good in some markets, there just isn't the user base there to bring over an application at the first initial launch day to this platform. So if Microsoft can get more developers to release their applications faster for the platform, it would be really nice to see, and it could give Windows Phone 8 the juice that it needs to continue to strive, or maybe start to strive for once in the mobile operating system market. So with all that said, I ended up giving the Nokia Lumia 1520 an 8 out of 10. While I really do like a lot of things about this phone, there's a couple things I don't like. Mainly the design and the screen size, along with some issues I have with Windows Phone 8 in general. I love big screens, I said it before, but this just isn't a phone you can use with one hand. Having to use a phone with two hands is a bit annoying. You know, you look at something like the Galaxy Note 3. It's not really preferable to use it in one hand, but the way Samsung designed it, it's not impossible. Well, the Nokia Lumia 1520 is just impossible really to use with one hand. Sure, you can swipe through your start screen, you can swipe over to all of your applications, but that's about it. Good luck trying to navigate an email or something with one hand. You really do need two hands to use this phone. And again, the design just kind of meh, just kind of blends in with the other smartphones out there on the market. And then you have those issues with Windows Phone 8 that I just mentioned. Now, with that said, keep in mind, beautiful display, fast processing speeds, great camera, long-lasting battery. There are things to like about this phone, but it just isn't for everybody, and again, mainly due to that screen size. If Nokia could take the guts and the camera of the Lumia 1520, maybe shrink it down to a smaller form factor, and if Microsoft can update Windows Phone 8 to where it's a little bit more fresh and not so stale, we could be looking at a killer smartphone right here. But as the time stands, and with those issues I have with it mentioned, good phone, but make sure you know what you want in a smartphone, and make sure you have the hands of a monster to handle it. And if you like big phones, you like oversized phones, you like Windows Phone, this might be a pretty good choice for you, but just make sure you do your research before you throw down any of your hard-earned cash. But really, that can be a lesson learned for any smartphone buying decision. And with that said, that's all the time we have for this episode of Mobile Cup of Joe. Guys, if you liked the video, please go ahead and hit the like button if you liked it. It takes 1 second to do so. It really does help support the show. And if you want to show your support towards the show even more, I'd really appreciate it if you'd go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more Mobile Cup of Joe videos. Guys, we are on YouTube, we're on Google+, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. And make sure you head on over to our website at www.mobilecupofjoe.com for the latest in technology news, reviews, giveaways, and more. I am Joe Marin from mobilecupofjoe.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.